everybody. This is your friendly neighborhood coach, and welcome to the next episode of The Locker Room. Listen, I got a whole lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the Browns coming up as they play the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to review the Steelers game, and I want to ask y'all a question. Did Aaron Rodgers have a choke job? Did he choke? Did Aaron Rodgers choke? All right. Then we have could this be Kevin Stefanski's last game? All right, got some poignant comments from Myles Garrett that makes me believe that this is the last game that Coach Stefanski is going to coach. We're going to also talk about Myles Garrett. He had a press conference yesterday, and he said some things in his press conference that makes people believe that things are going to be turned upside down outside in Berea. All right. Then we also have our Shedeur Sanders update. Okay. Now we're going to also talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes. Man, oh man, oh man. They took a L when it came up against Miami. All right. Then we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. They played the Denver Nuggets last night. Then also we have where for the past couple of games, Craig Porter Jr. started over Lonzo Ball. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Then we're going to get into my coach's rant. And my coach's rant is this: did the college football playoff people get it right this time? All right. So for all my people here, right now, and even for my people here on TikTok, welcome to The Locker Room. Listen, The Locker Room is sponsored today by the Pebbles and Bam Bam podcast. Listen, y'all, me and my wife have been married for 30 years, and we've been through some ups and some downs, some trials and some tribulations, some victories and some losses. And what we want to do, and what the Pebbles and Bam Bam show does, is it gives you advice on how to maintain your marriage, how to maintain your relationships, and some hodgepodge questions that'll come around. So you can find the Pebbles and Bam Bam show on TikTok at 5 o'clock on Saturdays, Mountain Standard Time. Come on in and let's have a good time, and let's learn how to have a healthy relationship in 2026. All right, y'all. Listen, I got my TikTok fam out here right now. For all my TikTok fam, let me tell y'all something. If y'all can go ahead and drop that daily heart me, I would appreciate it so much. And for my YouTube and everybody else across the airwaves, I thank y'all for coming in here. We're going to talk a little bit of Cleveland sports. That's what we're going to do. I'm a Cleveland boy. So I talk Cleveland sports, and I'm going to continue to talk Cleveland sports. Even though I've been a transplant here in Arizona for so many years, all right, I always loved Cleveland sports. I grew up, I was born in 1973. Damn, I'm old. Yeah, I understand that. All right. But there's so many things that I love to talk about when it comes to Cleveland sports. I am a proud member of 3 The Hard Way Sports Podcast. You can also catch that on the tube called You. I got to be careful because I'm on here with my TikTok fam. My tube called You, and you can type in 3 The Hard Way Sports Podcast, and you can also type in The Locker Room with Coach Young, and go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, join. Do what you need to do. I appreciate it so much. Let's get into this, y'all. All right. Let's go ahead and let's get this thing started up. Okay. And we're gonna talk a little bit about the Cleveland Browns. So the Cleveland Browns play the Cincinnati Bengals this weekend. This is the last game of the year. Joe Burrow has been not cleared, but Joe Burrow is going to play. I actually thought that Cincinnati would sit Joe Burrow down for the season, for the last game. He just came off of an injury. You don't want your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, to get hurt in a meaningless game. However, the Cincinnati Bengals they different. Just like the Cleveland Browns are different. So Joe Burrow and everybody's going to play. For some reason, they want to end the season on a 3-game winning streak. I get it. But this game is completely meaningless in terms of the playoff picture. All right. So Myles Garrett, and we'll talk about him a lot. Myles Garrett has an opportunity to break the single season sack record. Okay. Will he do it against Cincinnati? It's a strong possibility that he's going to do that. However, Cincinnati is not just going to give it to him. He's going to have to earn it. Question: do you believe if Myles Garrett does not get this sack record, that it's a disappointment to him? Okay, probably so. But for me, as a Cleveland Browns fan, I want him to get the record. But if he doesn't get the record, it doesn't mean much to me because they're still 3-14. Okay, so it really won't matter to me. I'd like to see him do it, seeing as the extent that the Pittsburgh Steelers went to make sure that he didn't get the record. Now let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, shall we? Okay, let's go ahead and we'll get into that when it comes to the Steelers. I guess my question is, and it was brought up, did the Steelers work so hard to try to have it to where Myles Garrett did not receive or get the all-time season sack record? And for me, I say yes. Now, of course, all the talking heads, all the pundits, and even Mike Tomlin came across, no, we did the same game plan against Myles Garrett and nothing changed. And I call BS, y'all. I call BS because they did not want Myles Garrett to break the record against them. Okay. The reason that I say that, and once again, all my football heads need to understand, there was a play where Myles Garrett went into, he was lined up offside of the center, which is either a 3 technique or a 1 technique. And when Aaron Rodgers saw that Myles Garrett was in that 3 or that 1 technique, he literally switched up everything at the line of scrimmage. Okay? Everything at the line of scrimmage. All right? And even when Myles got close to him. Okay, now, to Aaron Rodgers' credit, Aaron Rodgers does get rid of the ball quickly. But it just seemed like in that game, he got rid of the ball extra fast. Extra fast. Okay? And so is Myles Garrett a game wrecker? He absolutely is a game wrecker. He's a game changer. He's a game wrecker. That's what he does. Okay? But I just truly believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers went above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that Myles Garrett did not get that record. Now, did it hurt them in the end? I believe it did. Okay. Aaron Rodgers is throwing to Scanlon, at the end of the game, had a good drive to possibly win the game. Looking at the all 22, there was a receiver in the middle of the field that was so wide open. There was nobody there. That receiver would have walked into the end zone. But not Myles Garrett, but Aaron Rodgers decided, I'm going to go at all pro. Okay, all pro Denzel Ward. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. That made absolutely positively no sense. And Mike Tomlin cannot explain for that. It made no sense whatsoever. So the Steelers lost that game. They have to play the Baltimore Ravens today. The winner of that game goes to the playoffs. Now, for all my Steeler fans that have come on here and for all my Raven fans that have come on here, bless y'all soul. But either one of y'all going to go one game in the playoff and you're done. You're absolutely done. Okay? So good luck to both teams. I'm going to watch the game because it's going to be a physical game, and I love good physical football. Okay? So we'll see. Lamar Jackson said he's going to play because he's had some injuries. Snoop Huntley has done a fabulous job in holding on to this team. So we'll see if Lamar Jackson can come and if Lamar Jackson can get them over the hump. Or if Aaron Rodgers can pull out some of that magic and bring the Steelers to the promised land. All right. Now, going back to the Cincinnati game, is this going to be Kevin Stefanski's last game? If you listen to Myles Garrett, because I got wind of his final press conference, and if you go and gauge by Myles Garrett, this is absolutely Kevin Stefanski's last game as a coach for the Cleveland Browns. Okay. Now, I've said this over the show. I've said this even on 3 the Hard Way. Like I said, here, commercial break real quick. Bam. If you have not subscribed to 3 the Hard Way Sports Podcast, go over to the tube called You and hit 3 the Hard Way Sports Podcast. You will see myself, L Train, and the captain, Terrence Alston, and we talk about Cleveland sports. That's what we talk about. All right. And then when you do that, then go stay there and then hit up the locker room, and you'll see this symbol that's behind me, and go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I love all, and I want all the smoke. I love all the smoke. I love my fans, those that come from different teams. They want to, you guys want to talk trash, got no problem in doing that. But just understand, I don't always talk trash. I get cash. That's what I do. So going back to this game in Cincinnati, is this Kevin Stefanski's last game? I believe it is. Now, I've been listening to all the pundits and all the sports podcasts, 92.3 The Fan and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and WKNR, and everybody's talking about Andrew Berry because they believe that if you let go of Kevin Stefanski, then you have to let go of Andrew Berry. And I say, contraire, mon frere, hold your horses. Hold up for a second, because that's not necessarily true. And people have been debating, well, how can you keep the head coach but then get rid of the general man, but not get rid of the general manager? How can you get rid of the head coach but not get rid of the general manager? It's very easy. I have said this before, is that I believe that this last draft saved Andrew Berry. Should it save him? No. But did it save him? Yes. Paul DePodesta, which nobody knows what he does. If anybody remembers the show Martin, he was like Tommy. Okay. You didn't know if Tommy had a job. Okay. So because you didn't know Tommy had a job, you know, and he always said he was working. All right. But you never knew if Tommy was working or not. Paul DePodesta was in the front office of the Cleveland Browns. He has since moved on, and now he is with the Colorado Rockies. Okay. He is with the Colorado Rockies. And so now I believe that Andrew Berry is going to replace Paul DePodesta, which means he's still going to be within the organization, but he will not be the general manager. Does he still have a say in who the next general manager and coach will be? I believe so. Okay. I truly believe so. All right. What we got here? Let me see. I got a question here from my man, the captain, T. Alston. He says, as late as this morning, the report is a decision will be made after the game. That's scary. That's scary. They should know now. Now, I come back with that saying, y'all got to understand, this is the Cleveland Browns. Okay? No, they don't know what's going on. We literally have to wait till Monday to see if any decisions is going to be made. The problem with the Cleveland Browns right now is their front office. Okay? It's their front office. They don't make very good decisions. I could stay on here for hours and talk about the poor decisions that the Cleveland Browns have made in terms of trying to carry 4 quarterbacks, in terms of calling Shedeur a developmental quarterback, okay, because they drafted him in the 5th round. Let's talk about how they drafted 2 quarterbacks in the same draft. Made absolutely no sense. Even though I'm a big Mason Graham fan, you traded down and picked a defensive tackle as the 5th round pick. It's so many different idiotic moves that the Browns have made. Nothing will surprise me. So I believe that Andrew Berry will move higher up in the organization because I truly believe Jimmy Haslam does not want to let him go. Who's going to fall on the sword? Kevin Stefanski. Do I feel sorry for Kevin Stefanski? Absolutely not. I do not feel sorry for him falling on the sword. Y'all miss me with this 2-time coach of the year because if we look at it from the numbers, he has been absolutely awful as a leader of men when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. So I don't want to hear this 2-time coach of the year. The one that he got was during COVID. So I mean, I'm not dismissing it, but I'm not going to sit up here and praise it all day, okay? But back to my original point is this the last game for Kevin Stefanski? I believe it is. I believe it's the last game for Kevin Stefanski. Do I think Myles Garrett will get the sack record? He should get it tomorrow, okay? Because the Cincinnati offensive line is not very good. So I do believe that he'll go ahead and he'll get that sack record, all right? Myles has also stated that he was not there for another rebuild. He was not there for a rebuild. He wants the team to give him assurances that they're going to put their best foot forward. And so let Coach Young talk to Myles Garrett for a second if Myles Garrett can pay attention. Two things. I give you credit for saying that, but my problem is, number one, you said it too late. You should have said that mid-season. You probably should have said that before you signed that $40 million contract. So for me, you talking, it means nothing to me. And it probably should mean anything to the organization. They've got you signed. You want to sit out? Go ahead and sit out. The Browns don't really care. They're not that good anyway. So if you sit out, it doesn't bother them. But you're not going to sit out because you ain't turning back that money. Okay? You're not giving up that 40 mil. All right? So by you making that statement, yeah, you put the nail in Kevin Stefanski's coffin. I get that. It's going to happen. Okay? Kevin Stefanski will not be around next week. It's just not going to happen. Okay? But you coming out and not giving him, I get that. Now, we also heard this week, and I heard this week, that Jim Schwartz is interested in becoming a head coach again. Now, Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. He was once the head coach for the Detroit Lions. And he didn't have, he came into Detroit, and Detroit was not a really good football team. And he paid the price for it. But I believe in Jim Schwartz. This defense has been the number 2 or number 1 ranked defense in the NFL with a 3-14 record. Are you 3-13? Are you kidding me? So if you want to keep some of the structure in terms of defense, if you want somebody to come in that's going to hold these guys accountable, okay, then you absolutely positively will consider Jim Schwartz as the head coach. All right. So, but what I'm saying is, once again, we talk in the Cleveland Browns. And so we don't know how those things, are going to happen. All right. So Myles Garrett has made these statements. We'll see what comes up. Let's give a Shedeur Sanders update. I've been doing a Shedeur Sanders update the entire time that the locker room has been going on. Shedeur Sanders, I think, will do well against the Bengals. The Bengals defense is absolutely terrible. I think that Shedeur he's improved each week. Shedeur Sanders has improved each week. Now, there's been people talking about, is he a franchise quarterback? Should he be the Browns franchise quarterback? And there was a telling stat that I heard, and I don't take credit because I didn't see the stat. It was through the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Do you know when Baker Mayfield was quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, he quarterbacked 90 games before the Browns moved away from him? This will be game number 6 for Shedeur Sanders? How can you possibly make a judgment call? And he's played 6 games. So here's my scenario, and here's what I see. Okay. And for some that don't know, listen, you have Shedeur Sanders, you have Deshaun Watson, who you're going to owe $80 million to. Now, I understand they're going to do an insurance claim, and the Browns will get $40 million of that. But if you need a veteran quarterback, you have one in the building. And then you have Dillon Gabriel. Now, let me tell y'all something about Dillon Gabriel. I've been down on Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel is not a starting quarterback in the NFL, but he ain't no scrub either. So let's not try to make him out as if he's a scrub. He's going to be a solid backup quarterback in this league, okay? That's what the Browns should do. Now, because, and I'm going to say this, Shedeur Sanders is not a fool, all right? That win against the Steelers dropped the Browns in the draft to number 6. They can't go any lower than number 7. Okay. So that means Dante Moore is out of the mix. And that means Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana is out of the mix. So now what the Browns have to do is they got to move to plan B. They wasn't ready for plan B. They can barely do plan A. So now you asking them to go to plan B. They don't even know who's going to make the picks next year. So why in the world, okay? But Shedeur Sanders has placed himself into position to where you have to give him an opportunity to prove whether he's the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns or not. Let's keep it a buck, y'all. The Browns don't want Mendoza. They don't want Dante Moore. They want Arch Manning. That's who the Cleveland Browns want. They want Arch Manning. And Arch Manning is coming out not next year, but in 2027. Arch Manning is coming out. Well, how coinky dinky is this, y'all? In 2027, 2028, the Cleveland Browns are moving from First Energy Stadium to the Jimmy's World in Brook Park. When is that? 2027, 2028. So who would you rather walk in there with? A quarterback who's not known or a Manning? Okay. Now, do I think the Browns will be bad enough to be even close to Arch Manning next year? No, I don't. Because Shedeur Sanders is going to take the bull by the horns. And let me say this, because I always come on here and I let it be known, I'm not a Shedeurian. All right? I'm not a Shedeur hater either. I'm more critical of Shedeur Sanders than I think anybody. But does that mean that I don't want to see this young man succeed? I absolutely want to see him succeed. I want to see him succeed because he's grounded. I want to see him succeed because he's confident. And I say this because this is my platform, and I'm going to say this. A lot of folks are real scary when it comes to a young African-American man who's confident in himself. Okay? A lot of the sports podcasters, they're not going to say this. A lot of the people on TV, they're not going to say this, but I'm Coach Young, and I keep it as real as possible. It has nothing to do with his passing stats. It has nothing to do with, is he capable of leading a team? Here's the issue. He is an African-American who is confident in who he is. And that rubs people the wrong way. That is the bottom line on why you have Shedeur haters, but also with the Shedeurians. The Shedeurians, no matter what he does, he can walk on water, okay, to them. And that's why I'm saying you got to play in the middle. He has not shown me enough to say he's the franchise quarterback, but he has shown me enough to say he's at least afforded the opportunity to prove that he can be a viable quarterback in the NFL. So that's why I'm shutting down all the comments that I get, oh, well, you a Shedeur hater. And then I got the Shedeur haters saying, oh, well, no matter what Shedeur does, it's okay. No, it is not. He still has flaws. The young man still has flaws. But, to whom much that is given, much is required. So you've given him the keys, to the car, but you ain't got no battery in it. And you expect for him to drive it. Oh, and by the way, all 4 tires on the car is bald. The car don't have a license plate, but doggone it, Shedeur, you better get behind the wheel and you better make this thing run by osmosis. Stop it. He has had a horrible offensive line all season. He has had the top-bottom wide receivers. The best target he has was hurt against the Steelers. His franchise running back broke his leg against Buffalo. But yeah, man, Shedeur's supposed to throw for 400 yards. Come on now. Any self-respecting football person knows that Shedeur is put into a position where it's hard to win. But he has been successful. And so he's afforded the opportunity to go ahead and work and try to be the starting quarterback. Now, I'm going to put him in a competition next year. I'm not going to come out and just say Shedeur Sanders is my starting quarterback. We're going to have a legitimate quarterback challenge. We're going to have a quarterback competition. It's going to be between him, Deshaun Watson, and Dillon Gabriel. And I'm not bringing in another quarterback. I'm not looking for another quarterback. I need to rebuild my offensive line. I need to rebuild my wide receiver room. Okay? That's what I need to do. All right? All right, so there's the Browns. Listen, like I said, if you guys have not subscribed to the Locker Room, and I'm looking at my TikTok people. Yes, the Locker Room is new here on TikTok, but I am on the tube called You. I come on every Saturday at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. I talk Cleveland sports, but I also talk about some national sports too. Okay. And that's going to be coming real soon. So this is my platform. This is what I do. I appreciate each and every one of y'all on here. I appreciate you, everybody that is on the YouTube channel. I appreciate all of that. All right. Thank y'all very much. All right. So now let's go on. Let's move on. I dread talking about this. But I have to, because I'm one of the ones that if I'm gonna dish it, I gotta take it. Ohio State lost to Miami in the college football playoff. And I sat and I watched that game, and after the first quarter, I pretty much knew Ohio State was not going to win that game. Shout out to Miami and his coaching staff. They put together a absolutely flawless game plan, and they executed it. They dominated the Buckeyes defensive line up front. That Miami offensive line was stout. They really executed. And Julian Sain, for the second time, looked like a pedestrian. He looked like a freshman quarterback. And the pick six he threw was a horrible pass. I saw the DB break before Julian even turned and threw the football. So Miami moves on, and I'll get to this in my coach's rant. Did the college football playoffs, did they get it right? Okay, did they get it right? And I'll give you some pros and some cons to it. Okay. So Ohio State is now out. I do believe the Brian Hartline situation was a distraction to the program. I shout out to my man L Train, 3 the Hard Way. He talked about it, that he was not for certain because of Ryan Day taking over play calling duties. And so what happened with that was it truly came down to Ryan Day tried to outsmart everybody, and he was outsmarted. That was it. Okay. Now, Ohio State's not going to win every year. That's fine. I know Michigan fans are having a great time lauding in this while they sit at home after they played into the What's About You Bowl, whatever bowl they played in. But Ohio State does need to retool. Jeremiah Smith will be back next year. That I'm saying this right now. That will be Jeremiah Smith's last year at Ohio State. He will turn pro after that last year. I don't care how much NIL money you give to him. He will turn pro after that last year. Carnell Tate is going to go to the pros. Hopefully, the Cleveland Browns are smart enough to grab Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson out of ASU. We'll see. I was impressed by the Miami right tackle, and his name slips me right now, but I was very impressed at the right tackle. That be somebody that if I'm in the low first round, early second round, I'm going to go ahead and get. So, yes, Miami moves on. Ohio State goes back home. The only, I believe, Big Ten team that's left is Indiana. I watched Indiana absolutely just dismantle the shell that's called Alabama. They just dismantled them. And it wasn't necessarily Mendoza. Mendoza had a good game, but it wasn't where Mendoza stood out to me. Like I said, that Indiana defense was all over the place. Their front four is absolutely tremendous. And so they play as a unit. Kirk Cignetti has done a remarkable job in Indiana in turning that program around. All right. So shout out and kudos to Indiana. I've had some people come across my feed from Indiana, trying to dog Ohio State and all that. And listen, I'm all about the smoke. Y'all are good right now. Good job. And remember, in any sport, it's cyclical. And what I mean is it runs in cycles. So Indiana's on top right now. Okay. How long that's going to last? Don't know. All right. So enjoy it while you have it. But pride comes before the fall. Don't get too braggadocious. Oh, and by the way, let me mention this. Even though I know he's an alum, how silly did Michael Irvin look? I'm sorry. Michael Irvin is 60 years old. How ridiculous did he look? Okay, I get it. I'm all about rooting for your alma mater, rooting for your team. But man, he over there sweating like he was working a job. Like, calm down, Michael. Got you. It's all good. I just need to throw that in there, y'all. I'm all right. So, next topic. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, all right? But I'm going to take this pause for the cause, all right? Remember, this episode of The Locker Room is sponsored by the Pebbles and Bam Bam Show. So everybody on my TikTok, Pebbles and Bam Bam Show is going to be on at 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. If you have any relationship issues, talk to Pebbles and Bam Bam. If you just want to make sure that your marriage is going to be online, come and join the Pebbles and Bam Bam Show. We're going to have a good time, all right? Me and my wife, Treva, married for 30 years. We are going to just have a good time and just tell stories and talk about the things that we talk about. So that's why this show is sponsored by the Pebbles and Bam Bam Show, all right? If you are going into a relationship or possibly going into a relationship and you just need some help, come on over and let's talk about it. All right. So Pebbles and Bam Bam Show, 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time on TikTok. Don't miss it. All right. Let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, y'all. The Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday played the Nuggets. Now, they beat the Nuggets, but let me put this in some context. All right. Yeah, let's put this in some context. So there was no Nikola Jokic. He had a knee injury. There was no Aaron Gordon. They missed about 90% of their starting lineup. Okay. 90% of their starting lineup. But they played. They played very hard. The Cavs struggled in quarter 2 and quarter 3. Then, of course, Donovan Mitchell went supernova again. and the Cavaliers pulled it out. Now, one of the things that I've noticed these last 4 games, well, 5 games, I'm sorry, because they lost to the Knicks in a close one. They got blown out by the Rockets. They beat the Nuggets. And then on the San Antonio Spurs, I cannot, they beat the San Antonio Spurs with Wembanyama. Okay, let me make that clear because a lot of folks, they beat them. Wemby wasn't out there. Wemby was out there, and they beat the San Antonio Spurs, and then they beat the Phoenix Suns, and they went and beat the Denver Nuggets. So they're on a 3-game winning streak right now. And so one of the questions that I had to ask are the Cavaliers back? From what I'm seeing right now, I'm not going to say yes. Are they winning? Yes, they are. But their defensive efficiency is still a problem. Okay? Their defensive efficiency is still a major problem. I'm still not liking the way Evan Mobley is playing. Evan Mobley is playing like a jag. And when I say jag, it means just another guy. That's how he's playing right now. Okay. He's getting back to his defensive prowess, but offensively, he's still the same individual. Okay. Jared Allen scored 27 against Wemby and San Antonio. You got to put the ball in his hands. I'm not looking for 20 and 20 out of Jared Allen, but Jared Allen can become disengaged really, really quickly. Okay. He can become disengaged. And when Jared Allen becomes disengaged, he pays for it on the defensive end. Okay. So I'm not going to sit here and commit and say that they're all the way back. I'm not going to do that. But are they close? Yes. Guys are getting healthy now. Sam Merrill was back. He was hurt that game, but Sam Merrill's been banged up. Larry Nance Jr. should be back soon. Max Strus is coming down the line. So the Cavaliers are going to be healthy. And when the Cavaliers are fully healthy, Kenny Atkinson can actually go 14 deep. Okay? He can actually go 14 deep. All right? I like what I see out of the young people, the young fellas, on the bench. Your Craig Porter Jr., which I'll get into in a moment. Your Naquan Tomlin, your Jalen Tyson, who's been playing lights out and a two-tier player. He's playing both ends of the floor. Luke Travers. I love what I see out of the young guys. And they bring an energy off the bench that these older veterans need. And so I talked about Craig Porter Jr. And so Craig Porter Jr. has been getting significantly more minutes than Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball played last night. He scored 6 points. His jump shot looked better. I've coached for over 30 years, just retired. And I coached girls and boys high school basketball. And no, it's not the pros. But one thing I want to make people understand from a coach's aspect is the easiest thing to get players out of a slump is the bench. When you put a player on the bench and say you're not going to get back out there until you get better, they get better really, really fast. So Lonzo Ball over the last couple of games has been out. And Craig Porter Jr. has taken the rings. He's done a real good job. Now, Lonzo played last night. He did okay. But if Lonzo Ball cannot hit the outside shot, if he can't hit a shot, no one's going to guard him in the playoffs. And I think that's what Kenny is trying to instill in him, is that you got to be able to score. You got to make yourself a viable threat for people to come out and guard, or else they're just going to pack the paint. Okay? They're just going to pack the paint. And I do. Listen, like I said, as a coach, I never really argued with players. I didn't, because the bench is a it takes care of all ills. Okay, if you make a bad play out there after I done told you 3 times not to do it, come sit on the bench. The bench always changes the outlook of most people. It's very, very psychological when you think about it. So Craig Porter Jr. has gotten a bulk of the load, which I really feel is good, that he's gotten a bulk of the reps now. Jalen Tyson has been absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. And I think he is, and I've said this on here in the locker room. I've said this on 3 the Hard Way. I think that he has created a conundrum for Kenny Atkinson when Max Strus comes back. Because do you sit Jalen Tyson, even though he's been playing well coming off the bench? Do you sit Jalen Tyson, even though, to me, and I thought about this last night, y'all, Kenny Atkinson was trying to make Evan Mobley like Draymond Green. And of course, it has failed horribly, because he has now created a monster that you've got to try to deprogram, because Evan Mobley has fallen in love with the 3-point shot. The person that is playing like a Draymond Green, but even better offensively, has been Jalen Tyson. When you put Jalen Tyson in the high post, and what I mean by the high post, for those that don't know basketball, it's the free throw line. That's called the high post. You put him in the high post, you hit him in the high post if a team goes zone, and Jalen Tyson eats that up every single time. Plus, that young second-year player is a willing passer. Where Evan Mobley, not saying he's not a willing passer, Evan Mobley gets the ball in the high post, and he's not dissecting. He's not analyzing. He's not looking around. First of all, him going into the post is like a disease. I've said this on previous shows, and somebody proved me wrong. Evan Mobley does not have what the kids call a bag. He doesn't have a plethora of moves down on the box. It's why he avoids the box. He's not strong enough yet to still move people. He moves a couple of people. He's 7 feet tall, but he's not strong enough to move the bigger centers. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't have an array of moves. Neither does Jared Allen. Jared Allen, he'll fake a jump hook, spin back the other way, and yeah, that's it. That's Jared Allen. Okay. But Jalen Tyson has a bag. He can go outside and kill you from the outside, or sorry, wrong word to use. He can win from the outside. He can also win on the post. He can win on the high post. Plus, he plays defense. Okay? He plays defense. So, Craig Porter Jr. is getting the majority of minutes. Hopefully, that will light a fire up under Lonzo Ball and get Lonzo Ball going. But are they back to where they'll win, where last year they won 64 games? Nah, they're not there yet. They're not there yet, but they're going to get there. I said this before, is that right before the All-Star break, and I'm starting to see glimpses of it, they're going to begin to make a run. Once they get healthy, they're going to make a run. And the Eastern Conference is going to have a problem. Now, they play Detroit on Sunday. They play Detroit Sunday. That's a JB Bickerstaff team. So that's going to be a physical game. And so the Cavaliers have to be ready for physicality, because in the league right now, people truly believe that you can be physical on the Cavs and they will crumble. And that's an absolute true statement right now. Okay. If the Cavaliers can get over the excess physicality and be physical with everyone else, they can last. All right. All right, before I get to my coach's rant, y'all, let's see here. I'm gonna go back. My man Terrence had a question. I want to throw this up real quick. He said to add, I'm good with Schwartz taking the job. He's talking about Jim Schwartz taking the job with the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, I'm good with Jim Schwartz. I think he's gonna bring a toughness to the Cleveland Browns team. One of my TikTok lady T Purdy says Mr. Philly said they're not a physical team, and he's talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. No, they're not. They're not a physical team. They're finesse with Donovan Mitchell. That's how I call it. They're a finesse team with Donovan Mitchell. Now, Naquan Tomlin, who is a second-year guy coming off the bench, Naquan tries to put people in the basket. Okay, I like that guy's physical nature. He ain't afraid to go chest to chest with nobody. You know, back in the day, it used to be in basketball, you always had goons. Okay, maybe I'm dating myself, y'all. Maybe I'm showing my age. But you always had goons, and that goon was somebody who you put in. And if you listen, in Philadelphia, you had Rick Mahorn and Charles Barkley, goons. In Detroit, you had Mahorn, Sally, Rodman, Bill Laimbeer. Okay, you had goons. People don't understand in Cleveland when the Cavaliers weren't very good, they had a guy by the name of Lonnie Shelton. Now he wasn't a true goon, but he'd hit you in the jaw. Okay, Buck Williams hit you in the jaw. Xavier McDaniel hit you in the jaw. You know what I mean? So the NBA has changed, of course, since the Malice in the Palace, when Indiana and Detroit had that brawl. Okay, Ben Wallace, shout out to Ben Wallace. He was another one. Okay, guys who did not care. All right, if you came in there and you were a smaller guard, you paid the price. You got punished for coming in there. Okay, so that, to me, that's old school basketball, and that's something that we miss. All right, that is something that we miss when we talk about the NBA today. Is we got a lot of high flyers, we got a lot of 3-point shooters. The goons are gone. And if somebody tries to tell me that Draymond Green is one, I will debate you 2 times a week and 3 times on Sunday. Draymond Green is not a goon. He's an antagonist. There's a difference. An antagonist make you want to swing on him. Okay? Kind of like what Laimbeer was. But a goon was a dude that if you came in there at the wrong place at the wrong time, you paid for it. That was what it was to me. And so the NBA doesn't have those goons anymore. Okay? They don't have those. They don't have those legitimately tough guys. Okay? And I could have a whole broadcast when it comes to tough guys in the NBA. There is no tough guys in the NBA anymore. There's dudes who want to be tough. The one guy in Detroit, his name slips me. He ain't no tough guy. He just crazy. Yeah, I don't see him being in the league too long. He want to fight everybody and their mama for no reason. That there's a difference between being a goon and being crazy. Okay. You didn't come down on Charles Oakley and say some slick stuff to Oak. You didn't do that. Okay. You didn't do that to Anthony Mason. Okay. Rest his soul. Okay. All right. We got another chat here. What we got here? Yeah, T. Austin, and my man T. This is my shout out, man. This is my 3 the hard way guy. He said Draymond is a semi-goon. You got to explain that to me, Cap, because you that's it. Isaiah Stewart, my nephew sharing and said Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart is just crazy. He ain't no goon. Draymond, you saying is a semi-goon. I don't know about semi-goons. All I know about is dudes that were the Kenyon Martins. That's a goon. He would, and when I say the word goon, y'all, I don't mean it disrespectfully. I mean it it's a badge of honor, because dudes would come out on the floor and they knew they wasn't going to say nothing slick to you. They was going to play ball. If you fouled them, you knew that you was going to get fouled back and harder than you fouled them. That was the game to me. But like I said, things changed when the Malice in the Palace took place. Okay, the NBA changed. And now you got, like you see Ja Morant flying through the air. I would love to see Ja Morant try to dunk on Xavier McDaniel. That wasn't going to happen. You understand what I'm saying? And Lord forbid you try to do a 360 on their team. You wasn't coming down the lane and the next time. All right. Yeah. So he says that means he's a partial goon, 50% tough. But see, my biggest thing, and of course, I don't condone violence, but my thing was when I grew up playing basketball in the streets of Cleveland, 189th Street and Harvard Avenue, shout out to all my boys. And even when you went down to the park, you had to be tough. You had to be tough playing ball out there in the street. That's where most young men learn their toughness, is playing ball, whether it was basketball or whether it was football. You had to learn how to be tough, okay? And that's everywhere, you know what I mean? When we went to the park and we played other teams, other neighborhoods, you had to be tough. Don't call no ticky-tack foul. That's what ticky-tack. You wasn't getting it. Okay, and certain parks, you better not call a foul, even if it was. Okay, so the tough guy in the NBA has kind of drifted away. Okay, all right, guys, about to end this in a little bit, getting ready to get into my coach's rant. Thank my TikTok nation. I appreciate all y'all for hanging on here. I might make this a weekly thing with you guys. Coming on here into the locker room. And I appreciate everybody that's live here and that's going to, see this. Please share, like, comment, and share. Like I said, if you have not subscribed to the locker room, all right, go to the tube called YouTube, go and subscribe, all right, and share with others. I'm just trying to build a platform here when it comes to talking sports, okay? And also I am a proud member, 1/3 of 3 the Hard Way. That is a sports podcast that me and my brother Terrence Alston, that is the captain, and then we got L Train Lionel Jones, and we talk Cleveland sports. You know what I mean? So I enjoy doing this. This is a passion of mine. I love this. I love doing this. TikTok, hang on. When I get off of here, we're gonna have a little after program. All right. Doom Dog 5766 is on. Listen, like I said, before I get into my coach's rant, I just want everybody to know, like I said, just become a subscriber unto the locker room. Like I said, I'm trying to build this following. I want your questions. I want everybody's questions. If you got a question about anything, I want your questions. I want to talk. Like I said, my motto is, you may not like what I say, but you will listen. Okay, because for me, it's very simple. I'm gonna say how I feel. It's my platform. I love it, and I love talking sports altogether. But I definitely love talking Cleveland sports. All right. So my coach's rant today is: did the college football playoff committee, did they get it right? Now, we saw the Buckeyes. Okay, Buckeyes went in overconfident. Miami came in and took out the number 2 team in the nation. And to me, did it convincingly. All right. Then you have teams like Texas Tech. Texas Tech got blown out. They didn't belong. There are a couple of other teams that you could just see that they did not belong there. You see the cream of the crop. And so I think that they got it right to an extent. You always got to have a Cinderella. And I think what they're trying to do was have the upper tier teams, and then they were trying to have a Cinderella. And to me, the Cinderella is Louisiana Tech. I think they are the the Cinderella team, they just won their last game. I love their quarterback. I know Lane Kiffin was their coach, and of course he left in the middle of the season. Well, at the end of the season when they were getting ready to go to a bowl game, he deserted them. Not a fan of Lane Kiffin. Never been a fan of Lane Kiffin, even when he was the head coach for the Raiders. I was not a fan of Lane Kiffin. Plus, I know some people who know him, and they don't speak very complimentary of him. And that's another thing. While I'm not trying to segue, but I need to say this. Something has to change. And I'm not saying it because Ohio State lost and the Brian Hartline stuff. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in general, there are too many coaches that are leaving programs without completing what they started. And so to me, you got to change the dynamic. And how do you do that? Well, the way that you do that is you move things back. You start the season a little bit later, but you got to let these coaches honor their commitments. If we're, even with I'm not a huge fan of the transfer portal, but I understand it. But when it comes to coaches leaving in mid-season or leaving and having completed what they started, I think it's a tragedy to college football. And I think it's watering down college football. It's watering down. I'm not saying that these coaches cannot elevate themselves and go to another level and go to a program and starting their own program. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, like I teach my kids, and I've taught my kids over years, when you start something, finish it. Finish it through. And if you make a commitment, make your commitment straight through. Okay? Let me break this down from the Ohio State aspect. Brian Hartline accepted a head coaching job at I want to say UCF. Correct me, Chad, if I'm wrong. And great for Brian Hartline. He's been wide receiver coach number 1 there at Ohio State. However, I think he got distracted, and rightfully so. He's trying to take care and be the head coach of his program. He's trying to hire a staff and things of that nature. And I think it was just a distraction. It was a distraction to him. It was a distraction to Ryan Day. It was a distraction to the team. However, if things would have been different, Brian Hartline would not have had to worry about it if the season started later. Just like the transfer portal. The transfer portal is open. It was open. It's open now. You got playoffs going on. Playoffs going on right now. And the portal is open. You have players that are playing in the playoffs who has teammates who have declared to go into the portal. That is insane. That is insane. We are taking away from the purity of the game. We literally are. College football is a beautiful sport. It is a beautiful sport. It is a tough sport. And they don't need any more distractions. Okay. So to answer the first question, I think the College Football Playoff Committee got it right to a point. I think it still needs to be some tweaking. But I really think they need to touch this transfer portal. And I also think they need to touch the season and allow coaches to finish where they started. Okay. I'm not getting into the NIL because there are pros and cons to the NIL. I do agree these young men are bringing millions of dollars to universities, and they should be, compensated to an extent. But as I figured would happen, the NIL money is gotten ridiculous. And you got kids who are not staying in school or staying at their colleges because they want to be the best. They want to go somewhere where they're going to get paid. And like I said, there are pros and cons to it. I completely understand. Okay. But, you got to remember with Coach Young is I'm very old school. And my mindset is this: when you commit to the university of where you're at, then see it through. See it through. But I also see it from the other side. You got some inner city kids who ain't had a dollar or a dime and have worked their way to a position to where they can help their families out. I am not hating on that. I'm just saying there's got to be some restructuring, y'all. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying eliminate or abolish any of it. I'm saying it's got to be some reconstruction because there are some players who are committing highway robbery. All right. And that is my coach's rant. Listen, y'all, that's my time. That is my time. Thank you to my TikTok nation. And thank you to all of you that are on here in the chat. Cap T. Alston, thank you, brother. Doom Dog, 5766. Love you always. Lady T. Purdy, Sheridan, I see y'all. Appreciate y'all. I will be back on here Saturday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time with another rant. So listen, like I said, if you have not subscribed to the Locker Room, go ahead to the tube called You and subscribe to the Locker Room. And then go to 3 The Hard Way Sports Podcast, subscribe to that. All right. You can also catch the Locker Room on IG. Okay. I'm all over the place, y'all. I'm all over the place. All right. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. I hope you have enjoyed, this program. I hope you're enjoying your new year, taking your time off, spending time with your families, not letting the world get over on you. All right. I am out of here, y'all. I'm up the road. Like I said, Pebbles and Bam Bam, 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time on the TikTok. And as I always say, as I get out of here, all right, love on somebody. Tell somebody that you love them. Don't always assume that they know.